Hi, my name is Renaud. We are very happy to be here. There is two of us from Rotor here. There is me and Liz. We are both educated as architects, but Rotor works as a collective, and we have different people in the collective with different backgrounds. Some are bioengineers, like Lionel first. Martin did not make higher education, but as both of his parents who studied law. Lionel, for example, is an architecture historian. Benjamin is a scenographer. And we are very happy to be in this symposium because it's about interior. And none of us is really educated in interior architecture, but recently we started to understand that interior is a field in which we are quite active, and we are very curious about what is what are the tools or the thing to work in at that level. What we have in common between us is our interest in material flow in industry and construction. And globally, through all of work, this is the focus of what we do. So I can connect that to the subject of the symposium here. Like, through the materiality, we very often see more than the field of architecture, and it takes us in other discipline or other areas that are outside the common thinking about architecture discipline. And we are welcoming that, actually. Very often, from this perspective, going through materiality, it brings us to the complexity of the world or of the situation around us. And we try to welcome that, or we have the attitude very often to welcome that. Rotor is a quite large group now, and we do different things. Sometimes it's difficult for people to know what we are doing. We have often received the question. For us, it's also difficult to know from where the people know us, or what idea they have about what we do. So I will go through, at the moment on the website, we divide it in 4 sections. So I will give you a sort of overview of the 4 areas in which we are producing things. And through this overview, I will tell you a series of little stories that maybe reveal where we act, or at what level we act. That's what the title of the lecture is. And yeah, like I said, very often we are feeling that we should act, or we have to act at different places, at different levels, in order to be relevant on the subject that we are touching, or where the materiality is involved in the question. So, first I will take the 3 sections that are more like a background to the subject here. Then I will go in the more spatial and design works we do, where we can maybe go a bit more in some details. So one part of Rotor is working on exhibition and publication. When I say one part, it's globally the same group of people. We all jump from one project to the other project, but at the moment we are at a certain moment we are working in exhibition or publication. So the first thing I will explain is the Venice Biennale. In 2010, we were invited by the French community in Belgium to represent Belgium in the Belgian pavilion and the Biennale. And when we thought about the architecture biennale or about architecture in this kind of exhibition, we had that idea of white model representing architecture. But when we look around us, we kind of see that also as architecture, and we are interested in looking at that. But it seems that looking at that is difficult for architects, or at least when we started to explore that subject and we contacted the architect of that school and we said that we would like to make some picture of how the building is used, they were very confused. They were like, oh, excuse us, we had no big budget, just could do what we want, what we could, but we were just interested to see and to take picture of this. Sometimes the use are inappropriate, the where, the not new condition is inappropriate, we can also see that. But our goal was to speak about that subject and to bring these stairs, for example, to the Venice Biennale. So we could share our interest in looking at the materiality of the steps here. And we found a way to present that on the wall in a manner that people can share our interest in looking at that. So for me, as an architect, or for Annelise, or for some of you, you could look at the stairs like it's there and understand there is something to be interested about. But if you want to share it with a larger audience, it's maybe good to just give it in the perfect condition to look at that. And what was one point that we found interesting through that study is that the way I was educated in the 90s in a Belgian architecture school, you think about the material or you think about your project with the new materials. You think about them like you find them in a catalog and you have the visualization of them as new. But from the moment they will get the first scratch, maybe 1 month after they are opening, they will live 90% of their life or even more in this condition than the new condition. So that was our contribution to the Venice Biennale, to maybe offer architects emancipation to look at the material another way than from the catalog. And we set up the space with a collection of those used or in their current use condition. In the same field of exploring the question that we see around us in architecture, we are sometimes giving workshops or education program. And a colleague of us taught a group of students in Geneva. And he asked them to go in a place that is not used anymore and to collect the material they could find. So a group of students went to that jewelry store. They are Swiss, so they found interesting to find a jewelry store. And they collect all the materials from there, and they took them to the school. Then the atelier was, what will you do with these materials? Now you have the material, you collected them, they were about to be destroyed, and they have no more life. So they start to work. So as they are good students, they try to do like design furniture or nice render, nice outlook of something. They were not convinced themselves. They took the ceiling, they went in a public space, and they fixed the ceiling of the jewelry there. I think it was a lot of fun. They enjoyed it, but maybe they understood it will not change a lot. So most of the material, they were still at the school, surrounding them, and the year was going through. And actually, they were pushed to round up the stuff. And at that moment, they've been very smart. And the credit is for them, because we've been very impressed. But they know that in the city of Geneva, you can call the public authority and ask to collect the waste. If you have large size waste, you can put them on the sidewalk, and the day after they come and they pick it up if you organize yourself. So they call that service. And on the evening, they put all the material they had collected in front of the school, but they displayed it with a little of attention. And actually, they sat in front and they started to film what happened from that moment. And people started to take the stuff. It happens all night long. And so in the morning when the city service came to collect the stuff, there was very little to take. And so we've been very, very impressed by the act they choose to do and how efficient the performance of that thought about those materials. Basically, there was maybe not a lack of ID, but maybe a lack of distribution. And they organized that it happened in the street. Another field of work for Rotor is to do research projects, research work. Most of the time it's when local government in Belgium, they publish a call to research on a specific subject. So at the moment, they were giving a call to make a research, how can we facilitate the reuse of material in the Brussels region. Most probably the understanding of the call was to make a report. But we replied to the call for project. And we said, okay, instead of doing a report, we are thinking that if we want to improve the reuse sector or the reuse of material in Brussels, we would embrace to build up on the existing people doing that. And those people, they are obviously not in the city. In a capital city, you will not collect material. They are around the city because you need space. And we use that budget to visit 100 companies that were dealing construction material. And we went through all those people who are into that business to understand what they do, what they have, what's happening already, so that maybe we can build upon them if we want to improve it in the city. We started to view all these different kind of material and way to work on it. And for each of them, we made a public website with the description of the visit we had, what they do, what the specialty, and so that it's already shared, this information. For us, what was very interesting, it was to see that all those people and all those actors we met, they are real companies. They are private companies. They make business out of it. They are not subsidized, they are not researchers, they are really economic actors. It was also, for each of those visits, the meeting, the discovery of people who were each experts in their field in some ways. So we suddenly had a collection of people we knew that were experts in the reuse of construction material. From the moment we did that study, it took us 1 year, and the report was the website, plus a little report for the administration. We started to be aware of that. And some months later, I will take some water, we saw that a new law in the Flemish part of the country was about to be published about the circular economy. And in the text, it was the draft. The draft is published so people can comment. And Martin, actually, the one who was this both parent lawyer, is always reading this kind of thing. And in the text, it was written that Flanders has no tradition in reuse of second-hand material. It's only for restoration of old building. But then we send a registered letter to them explaining, but we've just been doing for 1 year the visit of all those people doing it. Actually, there are people doing this. They are just not known. They are little actors. They are small. They are not very visible, but we made them a bit visible. And actually, in the second draft, the text was changed, and now it's written that the reuse market is a step toward a dynamic construction sector, and the actual people in the field should be helped and built up. So from that little letter, from that moment we do that, we invite all those actors we had visited to be included in the legal framework so they can address the public servant. They can say, we are in the text, we are those people, so they can ask for help. They can. So at the moment, Rotor was doing that, which is maybe unexpected for people who are known or thought to be in the spatial field. A very large thing at the moment at Rotor is Rotor deconstruction. It's the biggest thing we have currently in Brussels. So we visited a lot of people dealing in construction, second-hand construction material, reclaimed construction material. But many of them are in the business of high-value materials, when there is work embedded in the, like antique or high-value material. But the question was asked to us, what do we do when we have this kind of building demolished or dismantled? And the thing is that it's an office building in front of the European Parliament, European Commission in Brussels. And the practice with rent in Brussels, or globally I think, is that when a tenant moves out of the space they used to rent, they removed everything, so the space is raw, like concrete, again, and the new tenant can come and put his own interior. It's because the interior is becoming something very important for corporate identity and everything. So the market is about renting raw space. But the rent are for 3 years, 9 years, sometimes more, but not often the same time span as the obsolescence of the material. So you end up with this kind of interior that are going to go to the container, or this kind of interior. And actually the guys working in the real estate company and taking the decision to put that in the container, they are people from our generation, our age. And they don't feel good about it, but it's just the business as usual. The risks are very big. It's a very high-priced building. They need to be fast to rent again, and they don't feel good about it. But they have to, by default, put everything in the container. So we were in contact with this kind of people, and we decided, okay, we will jump on that. Maybe it's a subject we can do something about it, because there is no other people doing it. And that's how we set up Rotor deconstruction. But to have a commercial activity, we had to be aware that demountable doesn't mean it's reusable. That's the risk. Because you have to think that reusable, or that's the definition we took to survive or to go through that autonomously. It's reusable is the cost of demounting, of dismantling the material, plus reconditioning, manipulating, transport, take it out, multiplied by risk factors, because sometimes you expect it will be possible, but then it's not possible. And that has to be lower than the market value, because you have to resell the material. If there is a new alternative for a better price, you will probably not sell this reused stuff. And that was the first building we received, or we said, okay, we will try to work on the deconstruction of the material that have to be removed from that interior. So we started with a few floors. We removed the glass partition. We gathered them properly. We made a kind of inventory of what we had collected in that building so that we could spread the information to potential contractors, potential architects, other market actors that could be interested in buying to cover the cost. We delivered the stuff where it needed to be. And that has been a very big revelation for us at Rotor, is that in 10 years before that day, all the material we could reclaim through the project we've done was about 22, 24 tons of materials. But there, in 3 weeks of operation, we had removed 30 tons of material, reclaimed 30 tons of material. So it was a total different scale of relevance of doing that. And since then, we have like every week an office building or that we demand, and we have a warehouse, we have some lift trucks, some people, and we manage the contract with this kind of large real estate player. So rotor deconstruction is like a prototype. We don't know yet, it's 3-year-old now. It looks like a plane. We don't know if it really flies, but that's the current work we do. Okay. Now, a fourth side of rotor is design or spatial intervention. Maybe some of you know us from that, or sometimes you know us from Venice, or from deconstruction, many people know. And I will go through 3 projects or tell some stories related to 3 of those projects. So at the moment, we've been contacted by the people at Galeries Lafayette in Paris. They have this building in Rue du Plâtre, and they want to make an art foundation there. It's just behind the Centre Pompidou. And they invited us because they wanted to organize a gathering, a meeting of influential people, I don't know, 30 people, to speak about the future of that foundation, to speak about the project, but they wanted the event to happen in the building. And they said, yeah, the building is now being used by many tenants. There was a higher education school on the ground floor and first floor. There was a magazine, a review offices. There was like space that were used to teach Salesforce from a shop they have in the street. It was a mixed-use building. And they said the space is in this old condition. Maybe you would be able to make a scenography that looks good in that space so that we can receive those people and they have this discussion, but at the place where the foundation will be. And we visited the building that was Prolegomène. That was the name of the event. It was a 2-day discussion. But when we were visiting the building, they were pushing all the people out of the building, one by one. And they were already building walls inside and putting keys. It was written anti-squat. So it's like to block people to invade the building. And they said the foundation is to help creative people. And they say they like rotor. How would we develop our practice? And we said to ourselves, we don't want to do a scenography there. There is a big building in the city center of Paris. In Brussels, we are lucky that quite easily we can have space. And that's where we could gather, collect materials before we started to be rotor. So we already have material around us. And it's possible to explore physical stuff. In Paris, the people we know, they have so teeny space that they cannot start anything. And they have a building there in the city center. It will be empty for 2 years. And they are building walls and then ask us to do a scenography. So we came back to them and we said, we don't think we can help you with the scenography, but we were very concerned by these anti-squat doors. And we believe that if we project what rotor was helped and you want to help creative people, it would be better to open the door and share that space. And if you want a scenography for your meeting and they are smart people, the fact that you do the right thing, that people are using the building, will be a very nice scenography. They will have the meeting and they will see activity surrounding them. It just makes sense. And so let's use that budget to open the building. So after that meeting, they were all white and they said goodbye. But 3 days later, they sent a mail and they said, it's quite wise what you told us and we will follow you. And so we said, okay, cool. We don't have a lot of time because we were busy doing another exhibition. We will give you 20 days. We will come and we will do in 20 days what we can do. The idea is that the building is ugly now. And if you open the door and you give something ugly to the people, nothing nice will happen. So we will demount all that is ugly, all that is connoted with previous use. And then when what is the feeling of the previous use is removed, we stop there. So for example, this auditorium, we said, okay, maybe we will remove the ceiling, we will see again the historic structure that is above it, and we will put up some chairs, and if you need to have an event, people will take the chair, and it will be a space that is not neutral, but that is not reminding of the old high school that was at the end of his life. And we arrived there in July. That's what we call summer project at Rotor, and like everybody in the office tried to be on that project. And the first room we entered, or we tried to work, it was this room. And so it looks like the previous use. It was an office from the 80s. And that's the moment we noticed they had put the false ceiling in front of the window, but actually the windows were higher. And what we did is we made the system and we took the structure and we lift the ceiling to get back the full window. And so we end up with the space like this. And for us, the space was good. It had changed. And we gave it like this to them. Another floor, it was on the first floor, there was like 3 auditoriums. And because it's the end of life of a building, you can allow yourself things that you would maybe not do in another place. So a wall, if you know that you will use a building later, it's quite precious. You will keep it or think about it. But since we knew that 2 years later everything is going to be demolished, we said, okay, we can take one floor, remove all the walls. It will make a larger space. If the house is shared with many people, it's maybe a place where you can present something. It's a nice condition to have in the building. So we decide, okay, we send a mail, you can cut all the wall just the week before we arrive. But then we are thinking, yeah, but we will not invest and we will not bring, there is no budget to bring any new stuff in the building. So we will empty the room and there will be no furniture, there will be nothing. So we said, okay, stop. Let's cut the wall at 8, so we already have something in the space. And we choose to cut it at 60, so that if they put chair to make a presentation, people who will sit on the wall, they will be a bit higher. So we choose to cut the walls like this. Then we had to make a finish, so we played with pouring concrete. And because it was a presentation space, we just put one layer of paint white on the vertical surface, but we end up with this space instead of an empty space. And then it's been used, actually. The nice thing is that the foundation itself installed in the walls. So actually they create the foundation 3 years earlier than forecast, and they choose themselves to use it, which they were only thinking they would use it when it's the next new super nice building. But they were using a raw building just changed in 20 days. Another project is, we call it Baumel. It's in Belgium, in the Wallonie, it's Namur. It's a small city south of Brussels. And they renovated this slaughterhouse to be a cultural center. It's been renovated by an architect, but who didn't know exactly what would be the function. He had just to renovate the envelope and to provide some base. The building is fully insulated. It's a passive building from inside. So in the interior, you have no identity or no trace of the previous building. You are just in a white box. And we received the mission to make the interior design, actually, and the furniture for those spaces, maybe to adapt the architecture if needed. And we agree with them on a methodology that we will explore the project, they also ask us to explore the available resource locally, like to meet the school, to meet every possible alternative resource that are available in the city. And we did a pre-project. Then we had a moment we came in the space and we furnished, we refurbished the space. Then they would use it, and then we would adapt. Because we could only provide a schematic view of what we could do. So we could say there it will be an exhibition room, there will be atelier, there you need offices, there you need the separation. But we could not provide the level of detail. The idea was that the design or the material dimension would be provided later based on the opportunity. If we find a guy in the city who can do this, that will be the shape and the color of the thing. If we are able to do something, we will do it. They trust us from that level of drawing to provide the project, and then there would be an adaptation if needed. We could not provide more than this as a drawing. But from that, sometimes we could say we have an ID. For that area, we already have an ID. But from that moment, we went to the building, we installed ourselves. We had a team, Rotorians people. We start to eat, to literally live in the building. Like some people were going back to Brussels, but some people were staying there to avoid the train. So we really lived in the building before it was furnished. That's Annelise and Benjamin playing. And then in a deconstruction project, like I told you, we were demounting a bank, a big central bank in Brussels. And we saw that there was a series of furniture done by an interior architect, interior designer from the 70s that is a little known in Belgium. And he had done the cafeteria of the bank. And we thought, okay, let's use that, and that will be the cafeteria in this cultural center. It's the opportunity that is there today. So we started to demount carefully the thing at the bank. We collect a component, another component. We start to know how they are in their material dimension. And then the work was literally a logistic work, to take it from one place, keep it clean, not broken, and bring it in that space. So the false ceiling is the same. We adapted some structures. We put there the bar. Then we complete it so that it could be the welcoming desk at the same time as the bar, which was in the scheme. We adapt the countertop. We joined it together to make a large table. And in the end, we had this space and this materiality. And that was the cafeteria of the cultural center. Another story. When we arrived in the building, there was a lot of atelier that needed to be provided in that cultural center. But ourselves, we needed to work and to think about the project. So we asked the owner, which is the Théâtre de Namur, can we have a table and some chairs? And they provided those chairs and this table. We were thinking, it's very good, actually. It's exactly what we need. We put it where we need to work. It works fine. So we thought, actually, the center will just need those tables. But we wanted to optimize the situation because those tables are a bit heavy. You don't move it so easily, so we try to improve from that. But we could not find something on the market. So we found these panels, and we tried to make lightweight table. So we designed the edge. We started to glue it, fix the side together, let it dry, sharpen the edge like that is a nice smooth design. And we had a pile of those boards. So everywhere in the cultural center, you would have very light board on the wall. If you want to make an atelier workshop, you just take the table, and one teacher can take it alone. It's light. He put the tables like we did, and he can remove it at the end. That's what we tried. The city, because we visited all the available resources, had this kind of foot for table, and we thought, yeah, it looks good, it's okay. We just copied them, and we made them in aluminium. And so we had the table for the cultural center. And they used it like this. There is in every space, in every room, when you need. The chair we received, when we received the table and the chair we need, it was this La Leggera chairs. We thought, okay, it's very good, it's perfect, but the price is too high. It was 486 euros. So we thought, okay, maybe anyway, chair that we can really pile is even better. And we knew that chair, and we said, okay, let's look for that chair. It could be a good option. We start to look on the internet. We could not find 200 chairs. The goal was to find 200 chairs for the cultural center. We found there 34 of them at this price. The budget was about 50 euro per table, per chair. Then we found another lot, and at the moment we had two lots of chairs. We took the risk. We said, okay, let's buy those, and we will collect them throughout the project and hopefully reach the 200 from the second-hand market of those chairs. And we kept looking, and piece by piece, we could collect these 200 chairs. What we liked about that story is that it's going against the entropy. You cannot find 200 chairs in one lot easily, because they've been divided. When they was new, it was a producer selling at high price. It's easy to get 200 chairs. You make the order, you buy them. But then in the real life, it's divided. And so our work was to go against that, to take the risk and to take the effort, to gather them together so that you again have 200 shares in one lot. And luckily we succeed with that. The idea behind this kind of attitude is to think what have been the chair that have been sold a lot 20 years ago. And in Netherlands, it happened that this chair was sold a lot 20 years ago. So many spaces that used to have that chairs have been refurbished now, so the chairs are on the second-hand market, so we could believe that we would find it. It's a bit like looking for second-hand cars. You check what are the cars that old people bought 8 years ago, so you know that they will be the cheap one now. And so in Netherlands, it's that chair at the moment you can find. And so the table and the chair, that was what we could provide to the cultural center. And a last project is recently we've been called by a guy working at the European Commission in Brussels, and he wanted to open a library. And he rented that space, and he wanted to make a small independent library. He will try to sell books in every language of Europe, so there will be an Estonian book. And he called us because to furbish his space, that's Rotor warehouse, for example, actually. That's things we collect from the deconstruction project. And he said, I want to work with you, so you provide me the furnitures, and they are from reused, reclaimed origin, and maybe they have stories with them, and that's what I like, it will fit my shop. And so we found this kind of furniture for him. We tried a setup at the office, so this is in the middle the false ceiling from the bank, this is from laboratorium, these lights are from another bank, this comes from Ghent University, the shelves, they were the library university. And that was the collection of furniture we provide him. And we had this space, and he wanted just to have furniture, but we could feel that it would not solve the space. The space would not be clear and good enough, and provide the clear lecture that you enter in the library, and in that library you have just 25 language, 10 books of every language, actually, that's the idea, and you can go and buy a story. He wanted also a gallery, but he hoped to do it just with furniture. And at the moment we decide, okay, no, we need to put a wall. We will afford that in that project, so that the furniture are not the first player in the space, but the space is clarified, and the furniture can be more common, just absorbs in the project. And so you had more like a gallery space, and this backdrop could provide the services. And this backdrop area, we really enjoy to do this. That's the moment we discovered that we were maybe doing interior architecture at the office. Because we were like really feeling, yeah, it's nice, we have a space in between, and it's because there is no function really, but it's about the spatiality at the interior level, that we could say, okay, the apples and the free waters and the cookies, they will be in that blue area, and it can provide like gift to the visitors, while the space for the books is not contaminated by those water and apples. And so we wanted to have this space cozy and in this blue texture. And yeah, first time in our life we were looking for wallpapers. And it was not so easy. It was fun to start to do that, but we were like, with a huge possibility. You have like hundreds of thousands of catalogs, and you don't know how to choose, you have no habits, you don't know which are the good ones, how much money you have to spend on that. Okay, we tried, we did a bit. And we compromised on that one. We said, okay, but we knew that there was no story in that. It was just, okay, it was blue, it was the condition we need, we are interior architects. We were happy to try, but we did not feel 100% good. We presented to the client, he agreed, everything was going on. But between us at Rotor, between the team, we were like... And then, some days when you are at Rotor, you receive nice emails. One of us, Benjamin, actually with the scenographer, he went to the National Opera, and he asked them, can we not have a painting of a decor, of the scenography of one of the opera that is just finished, and we'll just glue that on the wall. And actually he made it happen. So he went to the opera, and they said, we are just removing that painting, and it's going to be thrown away. So if you like, we can deal that. So it was dealt in 2 bottles of champagne, which the opera should not know. And the guys came, and they glued it on the wall. And the client followed us. And so they've been there. It's the people from the opera. They are very good at doing that. And we had the wall, which was blue, but now there's a story. There is more texture than what we could find in catalogs. And we end up the space like this. Voilà.
Not to change it totally. Now the question is, how common it is in Belgium? Is the culture a little bit different, or do people or the clients really evaluate the internal space in a different way? Are they looking like not forward but also backward? How do you feel?
I don't know how to reply that. And I
you
don't know.
have been dealing already over 10 years on this level, but on the whole,
Yeah, but not so often in Belgium. So if you ask how it's different in Belgium, we more look project by project at Rotor, and every project is an adventure. And we try to see what is possible in the condition of the project. And we welcome the stranger to the project. But we've not yet repeated ourselves a lot. So basically, we try to build the confidence condition first. Most of the projects we do there, there is another thing that I can say, is that at Rotor at the moment we don't apply to competition most of the time, because the architecture competition at least, they ask to make the conception, to put everything into paper, it's needed for very good reason, and then to materialize, to build it. We are not very good at that, or we've not a lot of experience into that. So we try to join conception and materiality, conception and realization, and that's where we are able to be smart, and that's where we are able to, again, welcome the stranger, to work with the guy who knows the stone, or to work with the guy from the La Monnaie, from the opera. So we situate our works where this possibility is. It's a kind of precondition most of the time, and so it's always a special relation already, and we take the time for people to trust us. Maybe all the other work we do, the fact that we really do the deconstruction, allow people to know that we are able to be professional with very large real estate companies, and they know that if we are able to deal with them, we will be professional even when they trust us about fitting a space. If we've been able to research on some subject and to really go where the research leads us, but we produce a police, maybe it helps people to trust that we will be able to call in the Netherlands for people selling chairs. So my belief is that it's a chance that we are a collective and that we work on many things, because it allows us to be confident in many fields. And then it makes the client confident, maybe. But I don't know if it's specific to Belgium.
Maybe it's just a question of the trust